Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Hello, guys. My name is Florent Malbranche. I'm French, as you can hear. I'm the co-founder and CEO at Brigade, which is a Paris-based startup. And what we do basically is a platform that connects talents and businesses in the hospitality industry for very short missions. So we're active in Paris, in several cities in France, and here in London and other cities in the UK. So today we'll have very interesting discussions with my guests about technology and the staffing crisis here in the UK, but it's the same in all countries on Earth. So that could work for any city or any country. I'm pleased to meet you guys. The panel is super short, 25 minutes. So maybe if we can start just saying a few words about yourself, who you are. We have very diverse backgrounds here, startup, business, chef, and talent. So can you say a few words about you, who you are, and then we'll start the discussion about the topic. Maybe
Yeah.
David, if you want to start.
My name is David. I'm a chef. I've been a chef for over 10 years. And so far, so great. I'm doing well. And I still continue to do with a lot of energies.
Cool. Thank you, David. Steven?
So my name is Stephen. I'm the restaurant operations manager for the Berkeley Hotel in Knightsbridge, so a 5-star property, and I'm one of the customers of Brigade.
Great. Hey everyone, I'm JP. I'm the co-founder of a business called Crosstown. You know the donuts. We've got about 25 sites across the UK now. I'm also the founder and CEO of a company called Slurp. What we do is help hospitality businesses with online ordering.
Thank you. Maybe first question, because we hear a lot, there is a huge shortage of staff, a huge crisis in terms of finding the good people, the right people for your businesses. Maybe Stephen, can you tell us from a business perspective, from a restaurant perspective, how it is at the moment?
In one word, hard, for sure. I think, there's a lot of factors in play, Brexit, the pandemic, everything in one place is making it very difficult as a business to find the right staff, to keep them. I think everyone, in terms of staff members, are looking for the right fit for them. There's a lot of options on the table, and to find the right staff, to motivate them, to keep them is almost impossible. I think we hopefully do quite a good job. We have a very static team, but it always feels like there is never enough. The business is very fast paced. I think like a lot of operators, business is very last minute. There's a lot of really great events for us that will come on, but it'll be such short lead time that you do need to kind of be very flexible with your workforce to look after your customer and to make sure that they're happy.
And so would you say that the relation between talents and you businesses is a bit more balanced than before, that power is back to workers?
Yeah,
Some ways? Yeah.
completely. Because it's not like before where, obviously you would stay with a company for a long time, or, there was, everyone had a job. If you don't look after your team member, they will go and look for another opportunity elsewhere. And obviously everyone is short staffed. You don't want that to happen because you're just making the problem worse as a business.
Okay. David, is it something that you feel as a chef?
Yeah, I agree with Stephen. We have a lot of problems. But in terms of business, it will keep up to coming back better. But unfortunately, we have to give our effort to move forward with the few chefs we have in our industry.
Okay. And so you said a few words about the pandemic and the consequences of COVID. Would you say that in some ways, and this is bringing me to the place of technology in the hospitality industry, would you say that it has accelerated your usage of technology and, for example, platforms like Brigade in terms of finding the right people for your business or finding some jobs for you, David?
Yeah, I would agree that, the main reason that my company, the Berkeley, ended up using Brigade was because the traditional agencies weren't providing us enough staff. And so we had to look at an alternative, which was obviously the Brigade platform, which gave us a lot of flexibility, which is what we need with short lead times on events and lots of things changing, lots of quick access to a highly trained pool of staff, which for us is very difficult. You know, not only is the business busy, but obviously you need people that know what they're doing. And actually the benefit of using something like Brigade is the workers that are coming through are actually very well trained. There was a lot of them that were actually really highly skilled, and that was mainly helping us to obviously get them embedded into the business quicker and to get them actually working with the guests and deliver the service that we need to give as a 5-star property.
Okay.
I think it also, for us at Crosstown, I think the big shift that we had was we're about 9 years old as a company, so getting to that stage, different stage of a life cycle as a business. And originally we were like relevant, really cool, people wanted to work for us. I think the pandemic really shook that, where there was a big reset, and we've had to really focus on our culture as to what are we as a company to make sure we retain and attract that talent. We're no longer that edgy, cool new startup, right? We're 9 years old as a business. So I think it's a mix of the staff have to be bought in to what we're doing. And I think every business, whether you're a chef, front of house, whatever it is, we've got to make that extra effort as operators to make sure that staff go, I believe in what we're doing. I want to work here. I want to continue and keep grinding away, because it is, you know, it's a difficult environment at the moment.
And so would you say that you invest more in terms of, I don't know, HR, training, benefits you're offering to your employees?
Yeah, I think we've definitely explored things that we haven't had before. I think flexibility, you know, this theme of flexible hiring even, I think that's become really at the forefront in terms of attracting talent, and how do you offer that, yet provide what we need as a business when we're trading 7 days a week, you know, 364 days a year. So that's been a difficult challenge of what are the things that we can provide that is not just an hourly rate or a salary. What do we do beyond that? And there's lots of initiatives that we've tried, and I think some work relatively well, some not so much, but I think the idea is that you've got to actually be open to the change. You've got to try things differently, because the environment's changed dramatically, in my view, in the last 9 years.
Okay. Same for you, Stephen?
Yeah, completely. I mean, as a business, and as a growing business, we're only getting more international as a hotel group. Is the people are really the power, and you know, we can make beautiful hotels and amazing restaurants, but we need staff to look after our guests. And for us, it's, you know, the benefits we have are we're great, but they can only need to get better to look after our staff. And you know, even last week we had a discussion about making a gym for the staff, which is not something we have really space to do, but we need to find a way to, again, add that extra edge over our competitor of making sure that member of staff decides to work for Mabon Hotel Group and not go and work at one of our competitors. And I think it's, yeah, no idea is a bad idea. I think it's really important that we continue to listen to our talent and listen to our teams and try and work out what they're looking for next and try and meet those needs as much as we can, so we don't lose the talent that we have. Because once you've invested and they're with you for a while, your investment can walk out the door in terms of training and time, and that's, you know, no one wants to do that.
And so back to the topic of the roundtable, do you use, I mean, some digital tools in order to, I don't know, to improve your relationship with your staff, to improve the benefits you're offering? I mean, do you have, because we're here to share some solutions, actually. So,
Yeah, I think one of the biggest steps we took in the last 6 months, actually, was doing a staff survey. It sounds so ridiculous, right? But we actually hadn't done that before. But we wanted to get a marker as to what do people perceive, you know, as an employee of our company. What do they like? What do they don't like? So I think for us, it's about now following that up, making sure we have an action plan and we actually implement some of the things. But getting that pulse check again in 6 to 9 months to see have we improved on those metrics. So I think for us, it's actually just been measuring what's the satisfaction of employees in the market. That's something that's been quite new for us.
Yeah. David, do you feel that tech solutions are more and more visible in the hospitality industry?
Yes, I feel there's more solution, and there's more tech is not involved to our businesses. We need that to improve more, because we do long hours, and we believe with the tech it's gonna change a lot of way of chef of working.
Can you give us a few examples of what it has changed in your life as a chef to use some tech solutions, like us, like others, maybe? Getting more freedom, better pay, I don't know.
Yeah, I think everything is now is in the apps. We use apps to do a rotor, our pay paid stage. We do ordering. So the technology really has improved a lot, you know. So it's really doing great.
Okay. And Stephen, maybe so we had a discussion before, and you told me that thanks to us, you found 10 to 12 profiles which were like you, David, working part time at the moment, and they decided to stay at the Berkeley and to work with you full time. Do did you have to do something to convince them? Why why do you think they've decided to stay with you?
I think one of the interesting things of when you talk to quite a lot of the agents and the talents coming through is you ask obviously where do you normally go, what kind of places do they visit, just so you can understand obviously their experience. But also you start to learn about how other places maybe treat the staff. And for us, it's always about listen to them. If they're working well as part of the team, you want to favorite them, you want them to come back because they're obviously working with your current team members. But just show compassion, look after them. We have an amazing staff canteen, but that's actually one thing that not many places do. So it's again another little touch that makes sure that they're looked after and they feel valued. And then once you start opening up the dialogue, and then would you consider maybe joining the team? And maybe the answer's not yes straight away, but maybe in a few more shifts later they go, actually, I really enjoy working here, and then the conversation can start again. And I think it's almost like a permanent job interview when talents come through, and it's a two-way process. Okay, if this person doesn't work out, then they don't come back, but at the same time, if they like working there, they'll ask you actively for more shifts. They might ask for a manager's WhatsApp to say, hey, look, when you need shifts, tell me, I'll make sure I go on and I pick them up. And I think it's about having a conversation and opening the door and just making sure you listen to what they're saying, and it's a conversation more than anything.
Okay. Back to tech solutions again. That's a question for you, JP. When you're trying to develop something for hospitality, a tech product, usually I mean, the image you get from the industry is that they're a bit reluctant. They're not big fans of technologies. At least that's something we saw in France.
Yeah.
So implementing the solution sometimes can be super hard.
Yeah.
Can you give us your opinion as a tech founder as well?
Yeah, I think the hospitality sector has an allergic reaction to some tech innovation. I think it's going to be grounded in what's the problem you're solving. So the beginnings of Slurp very much came from solving a problem for Crosstown, which was we wanted to do online ordering, but we were very dependent on marketplaces. So people like Deliveroo, Uber Eats. So how do we actually control our own destiny, have a direct relationship with the customer, and ultimately have our own channel? So we had that problem back in 2014 and thought, well, look, we really need to think about a solution that will work for us. We couldn't find it. We ended up creating it, and now we work with like 500 locations. So I think it's a stepping stone, right? I think what's happening now, particularly post-pandemic, is a lot of hospitality are waking up to the fact that there's very thin margins. It's always been a tight game, but it's even more tight than it ever has been because of the cost pressures, labor shortages, etc. So really, I feel like if you're providing a tech solution, it's got to contribute to your top line, your margin, or your bottom line. And if it doesn't do that, it's probably not relevant right now. So you're not going to see an NFT donut from Crosstown in a hurry, right? It's not about fads. It's about actually things that contribute to your business. And I think it's really about focusing on that. So the technology around here, there's a lot of it. Is it actually contributing to those three things? And if it is, great, go engage with them. If it's not, really consider whether it's worth your time.
That's what you do, Steven, when some people are pitching you a tech solution?
Yeah, well, as a user of Slurp during the pandemic, actually, it was maybe not a method or a channel that traditionally we would use, but there was a need to connect with consumers and to get our products out via delivery. And actually, it was the right platform at the right time to engage with our customers, and it provided a solution. I can't imagine that as a Barclay, we would list ourselves on Deliveroo, but Slurp, where we can brand
We
it
didn't
ourselves.
imagine you'd use
Yeah.
it. So don't worry.
But I think actually for us, it was about having that control as well as having, you know, the ability to brand it and to have a communication with our customers, which actually appealed to us.
Yeah.
And at the right time was the right platform to use. I mean, when we started talking with Regard, I remember telling the chef, oh, I found this new platform. I think it's going to be really good. No, I want to email someone or I want to talk to someone and I want to make my bookings and I want to make sure they're in place. But of course, after a while, when you can start to play with it and you, as a consumer, are using the platform, you start to realize the benefits. And hey, all of a sudden, you know, the shifts are up there and he's using it more and more. And I think it's about now is understanding that, you know, what maybe was our go-to in the past can't be our go-to in the future. If the talent we need are engaging with apps, then we need to be engaging with those apps to get that talent, or, you know, and to get our needs looked after. At the end of the day, we're here to look after our guests, and we need to find whatever methods possible to make sure that's happening.
Yeah.
So hospitality is not allergic to tech anymore. That's what you would say.
I think we've got to really embrace change, right? As a sector, like the way I think about the hospitality sector is we've got to think omni-channel. We've got to think about having the different revenue streams, whether it's they walk in and dine in, whether they're getting delivery on a marketplace, whether they're having a direct online ordering solution. Like, we have to think broader. And I think that's why I say about the allergic reaction is that a lot of people start their concepts thinking, I'm really set on what this is, and they're going to have to change their ways, right? They might have to go, actually, I didn't think we'd be doing deliveries or click and collect or having an app or on marketplaces or using a platform to hire people, but we do, because that's the dynamic nature of hospitality. It's a beautiful part of it. I think there's almost like there's an omni-channel revenue stream, but there's an omni-channel supply chain as well about how you get people, and we've got to start embracing this, and I think the successful companies will.
Okay. David, we talked a lot about tech solutions for businesses.
Exactly, yeah.
So obviously it's a link between talents and businesses. What we're trying to develop. Are there other tools that you're using on a regular basis that help you in your job as a chef?
The tools for the moment is we have also difficulties to get the tools, but I believe in the future.
What kind of solutions are you missing, for example, at the moment?
There's no solution, but we don't miss any solution. But we try to cooperate with the evolution of a tech, step by step. You know. Yeah.
Okay, but do you feel like talents, people working front of house, back of house, they're quite open to tech solutions?
Yes, of course, definitely. I believe in that. Yeah.
Okay, maybe a bit more actually than businesses at first.
Exactly. Than the chef, you know. So front of house, they need more technology than us. And,
And you, Steven, in terms of solutions you might be missing today, from a tech perspective,
I think, you know, we're always looking for what's next, especially the top end of the market in the luxury sector. You know, our clientele are very traditional or super into technology, and we have to kind of look after both sectors and both ends of the spectrum. I know as a business, we're already looking into apps, phones being key cards to get into guest bedrooms and all that kind of stuff. We're currently just trialing in the hotel facial recognition technology, so actually it will alert management of when guests are in the building and certain people, and at the moment it's programmed to staff, but, you know, to enable us to communicate better with our guests. And, you know, we're just launching at the moment basically an app where guests can text or message anything, any request, and it will get action within 30 seconds. And I think what we're seeing now more and more is people want things instantaneously. My staff member wants the rota instantaneously. They want to see the payslip instantly. They want to be able to do whatever they want right there, straight away. And I think that's where technology needs to help us as a business or as a consumer or as a staff member, is to give us that information as quick as we can, because everyone's life is busy and everybody wants information straight away. And I think that's kind of where tech is helping us.
Yeah, I actually have similar challenges at Crosstown about access to information. So part of the journey we're on is rolling out more shops and educating the sort of store managers about, you know, ultimately financial literacy. What's a P&L? Like, what's a budget? What's a target? You know, how do we set that on a weekly basis or a monthly basis? How do we give them that instantaneous access to how are they performing? That's still a big barrier for the sector of getting timely, hey, this is how you're going month to date. you're on track or not, it's still very manual. So I think there's definitely
Yeah.
something on the reporting side of
There's a lot of Excel and
huge amount of Excel, right? And yeah, ultimately, it's not a skill set that a lot of people have, right?
Yeah, true.
So there's definitely a gap there somewhere. I don't know sure what.
Okay. We usually that. So we all know that big problem, big challenge for the industry is the staffing shortage, and it's according to me, it's a consequence of the lack of attractivity of the industry for many reasons. Especially the time you have to work in this industry. Sometimes the lack of perspective. It's a very hard job. Would you say that? Trying to bring some positive vibes here. Would you say that tech is a solution for that? Will make the industry more attractive at some point, or not really?
I think the way I look at it is technology can help you be more sustainable business. Sustainable as in like functioning, not climate-wise, but you need to exist, right? We have a very poor statistic as a sector of survival. So I think technology is helping us increase that, ultimately trajectory of us thriving as businesses. That's where I see it adding a huge amount of value. That's why I started Slurp, right? Is because I want Crosstown to thrive into the future, way beyond its 9-10 years, 20-30 years in the future. So I'm actually really buoyant about hospitality, despite all the chaos that's sort of around us. I think it's a brilliant sector to work in. I think it attracts amazing people. I think we've just got to remain positive and be open to certain change that is relevant for us.
Same for you, Steven?
Yeah,
Quite confident?
Yeah, I think especially the sector we're in. I was having a discussion earlier with someone saying, the business is always challenging. You need to adapt to the guest, but as long as you look after your customer, they should come back. And I think London is one of those cities, especially where there's so much going on. The coronation's coming this year and stuff. There's so many reasons to visit London. There's always reasons to come to London. So as a hotel and as a restaurant, we should always have customers. It's down to us to look after them, to ensure we have enough staff and make sure there's a reason to come back. And I think hospitality is such an amazing industry, and I believe that obviously technology will help us do our jobs better, as JP said. That will help us look after our staff better. We obviously need to have staff in the first place, I think is the most important thing, and to look after them, but we need to use the tools available to us to make sure that it's working properly.
David, so a few weeks ago we ran a survey among the community of talents, and we have 75% of the people working through Brigade saying that they stay in the industry thanks to this, of course, tech product, but also thanks to the liberty they get, that they have more recognition from the businesses. Is it your case?
Yes, my case is I meet also a lot of people working with the Brigade. They really appreciate it. What Brigade bring to us as a professional, with the tech, better way of work, better way of understanding the business. We really appreciate that.
Okay. Well, it's almost the end. Maybe we have 2 minutes for a conclusion. So if you want to say a few last words, each of you, and then we can take a few questions from the audience during the 5 last minutes. JP, if you want to share
I think
your perspective for the future.
Remain positive, right? Like it's not doom and gloom. Yes, it's challenging, but there's growth, there's opportunity. It's about the customers in the day. If you provide a good level of service, good product, you can have a solid business. Use relevant tech. I've said it before, but be careful what you choose and make sure it fulfills an objective in your business.
Steven?
I think for us it's
You told me that you're about to open so many new businesses. I know you're quite confident.
Yeah, as a business, we won't be opening more restaurants. We're opening another hotel next to the Barclay. We have international domination on the cards for Mayborn. And I think it's exciting to buy the team into that. And I think that's something that we're doing now, is making sure that the current talent knows that there's the opportunity to grow up, the opportunity to go to Miami and work in a hotel, the opportunity to move to Paris and open our new hotel over there. And I think it's about getting them, as you said earlier, to understand why they're working there, why it's special, and to get them to buy into the culture. and then from then onwards, you'll end up, hopefully have very engaged staff that will look after your customers. And I think it's an exciting time. We're obviously spending huge amounts of money opening new properties, and I think that's amazing. But then, we need to make sure the tech we have is also helping with that to make sure the client journey is good, the customers, the guests, everyone, and the staff are comfortable with what we're doing and making sure it's easy for them to use.
And you, David, if you
Yeah, I
have a
agree with
conclusion.
them. I agree with them. I think the technology, it is important right now in our roles, our society, to increase more technology and to do better work, as every day as a chef.
It's a good conclusion. We have 4 minutes left, so if there are some questions, we'll be more than happy to answer them.
Hello. So you spoke about flexibility from the perspective of the industry, but how do you feel about it from the perspective of a tech solution? Do you think it's a strength or a weakness for the industry to be relying on it on flexible kind of basis?
It's a question for you, Steven, I think.
Yeah, I was just thinking that. I think the challenge has been in the last few years, especially from the pandemic, is learning to be flexible as a business and understanding that we can't dictate our team's shifts as much as we used to. I think since the pandemic, I've never done so many flexible working requests. And I think a lot of people, the business needs to learn to adjust to that and understand that you may not get what you had the relationship with the staff before. You really need to look after them, you need to nurture them, you need to be open to being more flexible. And I think also for us that's one of the reasons we end up looking for a platform, because and then you remember at midnight that you need to be posting a shift for tomorrow or the day after, and you can almost guarantee that it'll get picked up. And I think it's about learning to be more flexible. Even as a staff member myself, learning to try and switch off and this kind of stuff. And me myself, I need more flexibility so I can enjoy my life as well. And I think it's a two-way street. And I think if you look after the team members, then hopefully they'll look after you when you really need that shift covered or that extra hour or two. And it needs to become a two-way street. Whereas before, I think it was very much that as a business, maybe you would take, and then the staff would have to do as they're requesting, kind of thing.
We have another question here on the front. Maybe
It's working. Thank you very much for the conversation. Very thought-provoking. I was debating with you. So the question is to Steven first and Florian second. The same question, but what I'm seeing, I'm head of people of restaurant group. So what I'm seeing, it's actually still the market driven by employers, because I see that the level of employees, candidates, has gone super low, and desperate hiring doesn't help. We came out of pandemic, but now it doesn't work. It's not sustainable. So in terms of the quality of the people that you're seeing, both coming through Brigade or other sources, what do you see? And the question to Florian is how do you guarantee, I had already a conversation, how do you guarantee the good quality of the staff that will join us for 1-2 shifts, for example? Thank you.
I mean, it's difficult, I think, to get the talent we maybe had before. And I think as a business, we need to be much more open to training and development and taking maybe a rough diamond and polishing them a lot more. But I think also as an industry, we need to get better at making it look attractive, to make sure that people are going to university to study or going to hotel schools, or, actually seeing it as a viable career. I think only when we manage to fix that issue, well, then there'll be a lot more applicants for our role. And I think that is the challenge at the moment. It's something as a business, I know we're certainly trying to do a lot more of work experiences at teenagers and even at college, and, get ourselves out in the industry and get ourselves into schools to be talking about how great a career is, because unfortunately, until we fix that issue, you won't get the talent that we used to have. Unfortunately, we don't have the likes of all the wonderful Italians that are amazing at service and really do see it as a career coming to London anymore. And I think that's a really big challenge, and it's a really big loss. Political decisions aside, that's a really big thing for the industry, and I think that's really it's only going to get harder. So we need to really dial back to the roots to fix those issues before we get it a lot better. And I think in the meantime, it's about talent, training them, looking after those people, and only then will you actually manage to do the job you need to do. And I think I spend a lot more time now on training and recruitment and stuff than I ever have done before, because before it was almost guaranteed that you'd get plenty of good applicants. It doesn't exist now.
And
I think because it offers flexibility to the staff member, you get generally still a lot of really good trained people coming through. And I wouldn't have stolen 12 of them to come work for the Barclay if they weren't good. Yes, of course, you get some maybe people that aren't as great, but you do get some really good staff. And I can tell you before, I've never had a traditional agency member of staff ring up the day before to check where the staff entrance was, to check what uniform they need, and to introduce themselves because they were coming for a shift. The first time it happened, I literally almost collapsed in the restaurant because I was shocked at the professionalism that I was getting from that staff member. And then again, when they come in, they're asking the questions. They, a lot of them have been supervisors or head waiters somewhere else and now getting the flexibility of the life balance they want. And they're coming in, asking these questions, being involved. They know service standards. Okay, maybe not to the way that we want it done, but they know the basics, and they'll listen and they'll take feedback and they'll learn. And the next time they'll come, you'll know that they'll be ready for what you need them to do.
Time is over, so I'll answer in 10 seconds your question, and then we can take it offline. That's our role as a marketplace, to make sure we attract the best talents, because that's how we get the businesses, not the contrary. That's super important. Then we can discuss it offline if you want. Thank you all for your attention. Thank you to you three for your participation. It was a very nice discussion. And let's continue the discussion offline. Thank you.
Thank you.